Hello and welcome. Today's lesson is on domain and range with infinity. The objective is to identify the domain and range of continuous relations with special cases. Okay, so if you remember last class or last lesson, we learned about how to find the domain and range of continuous relations just like this one. So basically, whenever you see a line on a graph, you're going to start by writing down the setup, okay? And the setup is always going to be like this. And basically, you're going to prepare yourself to find the beginning and the end of the interval. So for the x, you put the pencil on the vertical and you move it across from left to right. And the first place I see is that point right here, which is equivalent to -2 on the x-axis. And because that point is empty, you're not going to put a dash. Okay? You continue moving your pencil across until you stop touching. So I'm touching. And the last place I touch is right here, which the x value is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. And because the point is solid, then you put a dash. Now to find the y, you position your pencil on the horizontal. You move your pencil up until you touch the point. And at that point right there, you see that the y value is at -3. And because the point is empty, you don't put a dash. And then you continue moving your pencil up until you stop touching, and you stop touching right here on the very top, and that y value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 5, and it will have a dash because the point is solid. So that was the topic of the last lesson. Today's lesson is going to be special cases because instead of having a point at the end of one of the ends of the line, you have an arrow. Okay, but nonetheless, okay, because we have a line, you always start with the interval. So here we go. Here we have the interval. You position your pencil like before, you move it across from left to right, and the first place you touch is right there, and that point right there is -1, and no dash because the point is empty. You continue moving your pencil across, and the last place you touch is this arrow. And anytime you touch an arrow, what you need to do is erase the inequality sign. So that means we're going to erase this inequality sign. So basically there is a beginning, but there is no end because this arrow means this is going to go to infinity. Okay, now that we erased that, this is our answer. But on the STAR test, all the answers on the STAR test has the letter on the left. So we need to prepare ourselves for the STAR test. And whenever we have the final answer, we need to write in the way that is written on the STAR test. So basically, if you get a number on the left and a letter on the right, you need to flip things around. And this is how you flip. You just change the x with the -1, so x goes on the left, the -1 goes on the right, and the inequality sign you flip. So now your answer is just like it's going to show on the STAR test. The letters on the left, the inequality is in the middle, and the number is on the right. So that's your answer, x greater than -1. Now let's do the y. You position your pencil on the horizontal, you start moving up, and the first place we touch is the arrow. Remember, when we touch the arrow, we are going to erase. That's why we do mathematics with pencil. Okay, so now that we erase, we continue moving up, and the last place we touch is right there, which is the value 3. And it will not have a dash because the point is empty. And then, is this my final answer? Yes, this is my final answer because the letter is on the left. Okay, so that means I don't need to flip anything because the answer is already written in the format that I want. So these are my two answers, one for the domain, one for the range. Let's go on to the next problem. Here I have problem number 2. Again, I see that I have a line. So first thing I do is write down my setup. Then I position my pencil on the vertical and I start moving across, and the first place I touch is this arrow. So when I touch the arrow, I erase. And I continue moving my pencil across, and the last place I touch is this point, which is value -2. And because the point is solid, I put a dash. And is this my final answer? Yes, the letter's on the left, so this is my final answer, and I put a box around it because I know that's my final answer. Now I'm going to do the range. I put my pencil on the bottom there, and I move it up, and the first place I touch is right here, which is -4. And because the point is solid, I'm going to put a dash. I continue moving up, and the last place I touch is right there, the arrow. And whenever I touch the arrow, I need to erase. And now I ask myself, is this my final answer? Well, to be my final answer, the letter has to be on the left, and it's not. So that means I'm going to rewrite, okay? And I'm going to make sure the letter goes to the left, the number goes to the right, and I'm going to flip the inequality sign. And there you go. That's my answer for this domain and range. All right, let's go on to the next one. Again, I see a line. So I'm going to put my interval with my inequality signs. I position my pencil on the vertical like this. I start moving across, and the first place I touch is this arrow. So I'm going to erase. Then I continue moving across, and the last place I touch is another arrow, so I erase. So this is a special case where I erase the beginning and I erase the end. So in this case, then I erase everything, and I put the letter R in its place. And letter R stands for all real numbers. Okay, because all the numbers in the number line will be part of the domain. Because if you think of it, this graph is going to continue to infinity. So that means it's going to include all the x values. Okay, let's do the range. The range now, I put my pencil on the horizontal and I start moving up. And the first place I touch right there is -3 with a dash. Then I continue moving up until I last touch the line, which is up here, and I'm touching the arrows. So I erase. So notice that moving bottom up, I touch this line. So it'd be -3, and it's solid, so I put a dash. Continue moving up, and the last place I touch is the arrow, so I erase. And now I ask myself, is this my final answer? No, because the letter is not on the left, so that means I need to flip. So let's flip things here, Y, and then -3 goes here, and I flip the inequality sign. So now this is my final answer. All right, very good. Let's go on to the next problem. Okay, next problem again. I have a line, so I start out with the setup. Now I'm going to find the domain, so I put my pencil on the vertical like this, and I move it across, and first place I touch is the arrow. So I'm going to go ahead and erase. I continue moving to the right, and the last place I touch is right here, which is -3. And because the point is empty, I don't put a dash. So that means this is my final answer because the letter is on the left. So I'm going to go ahead and box it. That's my answer. And now I'm going to do the Y. And when I move my pencil from bottom up, the first place I touch is right there. And here's the deal. I'm touching 3 things at the same time. I'm touching that line, I'm touching that arrow, and I'm touching that point. Okay? So right there in this situation, the one that is stronger is the line. So that means this line right here tells you that the range is at 4. And because the line is the strongest, I'm going to put a dash. Now, if I continue moving up, I will notice that the last place I touch happens to be the same place. So in other words, what is the last place I touch? 4. And because the line is the stronger, is a dash. Now, if you notice, the beginning and the end of the interval is the same number. If that occurs, so basically what you do, you erase or cross this out, and then your answer is going to be curly bracket, just the number 4. So basically the answer is your range is number 4. Okay? So let's try the next problem. On the next problem, I see that I have a line. So I write down my setup. I put my pencil on the vertical and I move it across, and the first place I touch is right there, which I'm touching the point, the line, and the arrow. And in this case, the line is the strongest, so basically this value here is -7, and it will be with a dash because the line is solid. And if you notice, this is the first place I touch, and it happens to be also the last place I touch, so that means the beginning and the end are the same. So I cross this out, curly bracket, and just copy the number that is repeating. For the range, you position your pencil like this on the horizontal, move it up from bottom up, okay? And the first place I touch is right there, which x value is -2. And it's with the dash because the point is solid. As I continue moving up, the last place I touch is right there on the arrow. So that means I will erase. And the question then at the end is this my final answer? The answer is no, because the letter is not on the left. So that means I'll need to flip. So the y goes to the left, the -2 goes to the right, and the inequality sign is flipped. So then this is my final answer. The answer is -7 for the domain, and y greater or equal to -2. Okay? All right, very good. So now what I want you to do is go ahead and stop the video. Try the next 4 problems on the back of this paper. And once you have tried and come up with an answer, restart the video to check if you did it correctly. Welcome back. So basically, you have the chance to try these problems, and now let's check if you did it correctly. So here's problem number 1. First thing I see is a line, so I put my setup down, and I position my pencil and I move from left to right. First place I touch is the arrow, so that means I will erase. Then I continue moving, and the last place I touch is this number, this point right here, which is 4. And it will be a dash because the point is solid. Now for the range, I'm going to move my pencil from bottom up. First place I touch is right here, which is -2, with a dash because the point is solid. And as I move up, the last place I touch is the arrow, so that means I erase. Now, this is my final answer because the letter is on the right. This is not my final answer because the letter is not on the right, so I need to flip. So my final answer will be y, the -2 goes here, and I flip the inequality sign. So that is my final answer now. All right, let's try the next one. Next one, I see a line, so I write my inequality. I put my pencil down and I move across from left to right. The first place I touch is right there, which is -4 with no dash. I keep moving to the right. Last place I touch is right here, so that means I will erase. And because the letter's not on the left, I need to flip. So let's flip that. So it'll be x greater than -4. So this will be my final answer for the domain. Now for the range, I move my pencil from bottom up. First place is I touch the arrow, so I erase. And then I keep moving up, and the last place I touch is right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So +6 with no dash because the point is solid. Then you ask yourself, is this my final answer? Yes, this is my final answer because the y is on the left. So that's my answer. All right, let's go on to the next 2 problems, problem number 3 and 4. So problem number 3 is a curve here. So we're going to put our setup first. Then I put my pencil on the vertical, and from left to right, first place I touch is the arrow, so I erase. Keep moving to the right, and the last place I touch is right here, which is the arrow again. So then I erase. So since I erased the beginning and the end, I erase everything, and then I put all real numbers. Now for the range, you position your pencil like this. You move from bottom up. First place I touch is the arrow, so I erase. And then I keep moving up, and the last place I touch is up here on the top of this line right here, which is the y value is 3. And it will be with the dash because the line is solid. And I can leave my answer like that because the y is on the left. Okay. So for the domain, the answer is all real numbers. And for the range is y less or equal to 3. Last one, I will put the setup. We put our pencil on the horizontal. First place I touch is this point right here, which is the value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So -5 with no dash. Keep moving to the right. Last place I touch is the arrow. So I erase. I ask myself, is this going to be my final answer? And the answer is no, because the letter is not on the left. So we need to flip it. So x and -5 switch places, and I flip the inequality sign. So this would be the answer for the domain. And now we're going to do the range. For the range, we position our pencil on the horizontal. We move from bottom up. First place I touch is right there, which is -2 with no dash because the point is empty. And I continue moving up, and the last place I touch is the arrow. So that means I will erase. And then I ask, is this my final answer? Well, no, the letter is not on the left. So let's switch the letter with the number, and we flip the inequality sign. So that will be my final answer. Okay, so then this concludes this lesson. Today we learned about how to find domain and range with infinity. When sometimes you have 2 arrows, sometimes you have 1 arrow, and basically we talked about if you touch the arrow, you're going to erase, and other different special cases. So hopefully this lesson was helpful. Thank you very much for your time, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.